Hello world, Shelly here, and I owe you guys Ireland story time. So we're just gonna do a little get ready with me, and I'm gonna tell you the stories about my trip to Ireland. And I've already put on, testing this out today, the NARS Pure Radiant Tinted Moisturizer. I'm also wearing and testing today the new House Labs Concealer. So those are already on. I've also already applied my MAC Paint Pot in Painterly. I think today I'm going to play with the Alter Ego Sakura palette, which is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Retro Glam. Now, every time I dip into this palette, I go with these 4 transition shades and then the greens for my lid, and I really never hang out on this neutral side of the palette. So I think I'm going to hang out on the neutral side today. I know, what is wrong with me? Like, what is happening right now? I don't know. I want to do something different than I always do. And you guys have already seen me do several times that type of an eye look. So I might as well do something a little bit different. But I want to put my complexion on first. So I'm going to dig into my bronzer drawer. And we're going to wear something different than I normally do. So I've got the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzer in 2 different shades. Should I go with the darker one? I am wearing a slightly, this is a shade 1 and shade 2 I've got. This is, yeah, let's go shade 2. We're going to go with this one here. And since I'm doing something different for bronzer, should I do something different for blush? I mean, different meaning you've seen them all before. I don't have any new blushes at the moment. I've been super crazy into the Merit Après, the Flush Balm, and I've also been super into, you guys are probably very tired of seeing the Lawless Juicy Watermelon. Alright, so I'll use something different then. Different, should I just go with Charlotte Tilbury since it's like the first thing I'm grabbing here? Ooh, I don't know though, the Wayne Goss blush is beautiful. Oh, what should I do? Okay, we'll just do some Charlotte Tilbury. Let's do that. So, my Ireland trip is probably, well, it is the last time I'm going to direct a study abroad for a while. This is the BK Beauty 107 I'm going to use for bronzer. Part of it is just, it's a really long time to be away from home when I've got pets and, you know, it's a long time, and businesses that I run that aren't very productive when I'm gone because, you know, I'm a one-man show. I have a business partner for one of my businesses, but the struggle is real. So it's probably the last time I'm doing it, partly for those reasons. The last year was supposed to be the last year I was going to direct a study abroad. I've been doing this since 2017. I teach at JMU, James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia, if you did not know that. I teach in the Media Arts and Design department. I teach UX design, mostly front-end coding, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. And so the Ireland program is one that I've been involved with since 2017, and it's just time. So part of my taking a step back will be those reasons. Part of it will be things that are involved in this story. So I need a blush brush. Oh, I'm just gonna use mine. It's Angie Hot and Flashy from BK Beauty A507. It's dirty as heck. I'm gonna try and brush it off a little bit, but so I had a co-director this year, and it was his first time doing a study abroad, so he was new to co-directing or directing at all. And this is the Charlotte Tilbury blush. So part of it was I wanted him to be able to like learn the ropes in case he wanted to direct his own program or potentially take over the Ireland program. And my former co-director that I used to do Ireland with moved on to do an Italy program, so still doing programs, just not the Ireland program. And so he was new to all of the process and the ins and outs of directing. I got my hair cut yesterday, so all the little tiny hairs get like all over your face and you just feel like you have hair everywhere for like 3 days. So pardon me while I freak out and feel like I have hair all over my face. So he was set to leave the day before me in June. Sakura palette. And as I was kind of waiting and checking in on him as he was supposed to be picked up, and he got to the airport and had his family with him, he ended up having his flight canceled. And this happened to me last summer. If any of you are friends with me on Facebook, you know this. Last summer, I had a nightmare of travel trying to get to Ireland. It took me 3 days of canceled flights and extra hotels, and the reason it was such a struggle really was because I had such a hard time getting in touch with the people that run the study abroad part of JMU. And that was incredibly frustrating. And so, deja vu all over again. His flight's canceled. He can't get a hold of our travel agents, which we're required to use, even though I had begged to book my own flight and just get reimbursed afterward. That would have been totally fine, but that was denied. And so couldn't get a hold of the travel agent, so he's trying to get a hold of them, and I'm trying to get a hold of them. And I'm trying to get a hold of anyone at JMU. There's an emergency contact that was not responding. And so for the first couple hours of him being stuck at the airport with his family and his child and not being able to get a hold of anybody, it becomes quite frustrating. And the complicating factor is that we were flying Aer Lingus, which from last year's experience, I had also begged to use a different airline, because the problem with Aer Lingus, at least in the United States, is that they're based out of Ireland, and whenever there's a problem with your ticket, they can't do anything at the local airport. So we're at Dulles in Washington, D.C. They can't do anything. They have to call Dublin and deal with it through there. The other complicating factor is that when you are booked through a travel agent and you didn't book the flight directly, they can only send your seat updates, your rescheduled flights. They can only send that information to the travel agent. They won't send it to you, and they won't tell you. So when your flight's canceled and you're trying to find out if you've been rebooked on another flight, you have to get a hold of your travel agent, which when you can't get a hold of your travel agent becomes a problem, which this all happened to me a year ago. And it's so like, I know the script, like they can't get a hold of anyone. You're just stuck. And so the reason being stuck is such a problem is that the way the rules are written, we're not supposed to use our JMU credit cards without authorization, and we're not supposed to use them stateside. We're only supposed to use them for approved purchases abroad. And when you can't get a hold of anyone to get approval to put a hotel on it because the airline doesn't have enough hotel rooms for everybody, well, then you're stuck and you pay for it yourself. You pay for your Uber yourself, and then you have to fight to get reimbursed. And I had a very hard time getting reimbursed for some of that last year, so I knew this was all going to be a problem this year. Anyway, I was strongly advocating to get anybody to help him because he doesn't know what is going on. He's never done this before. And yeah, let's just say I wore out my welcome with the emergency contact. So she then eventually, this went on for a few days because his flight was canceled. He couldn't get back out. He stayed with a friend near the airport, went back the next day. That flight was canceled. He ended up having 3 different canceled flights. And it took him 2 weeks to get to Ireland. And so I was cut off and told that I would not be basically allowed to advocate for him anymore. I'm using the green. I told you I wasn't going to do any green. I'm going to do just a little bit of green. I can't help myself. I'm just going to put a little bit of green on the outside. So I was basically cut off from the emergency contact. And, well, that's great. So the next day, I'm scheduled to go to Ireland. He's still not there. And so I fly out. Everything ended up being fine. mind you, none of this would have happened. There was a mess up with the travel agent initially failing to book my co-director's flight. They booked me, but they didn't book him. He should have been on the same flight as me. And there was a mistake and they didn't book him. Therefore, he was on a totally different flight the day before me, which if he would have been on my flight, we would have both gotten there at the same time. Now I'm doing some brown. So, anyway, that is neither here nor there. So the next day I fly to Ireland. I'm missing half of my stuff because I was packing when his flight situation the day before all started, and I just forgot a whole lot of things. It doesn't really matter. I was able to buy them when I got to Ireland. Things like my raincoat, my umbrella, things like that. And, but that was all fine. So the next day I fly out, everything's fine. I get there, no problems, take the bus. You know, he had a non-refundable hotel that he lost money on because he didn't make it to Ireland when he was supposed to, and things like that were happening. So the first 2 weeks of the program are when we do most of our travel. So we fly into Dublin and we go straight to Galway, my favorite place on earth. And we go to Galway, and then a couple days after we arrive, we go up to Northern Ireland to Derry. And we spend a handful of days up in Derry. And so I had to do that alone with the students. And, you know, Derry is an awesome city. I love Derry. I was nervous to be alone because we've had, in the years of the program, very minor incidents, nothing major, but the thing is, the history of Ireland is complicated. And to this day, you know, it's only a couple generations since the Good Friday Agreement. It wasn't that long ago, it was in the 90s. So, you all, the people most likely watching this video, are alive and kicking and like practically adults, if not full adults, when all of that happened. So it's not that long ago. And it's kind of a situation where when you learn this information, you were only there for a few days. So to be able to absorb the full context of all the sides of the arguments and to be able to discuss it in ways that aren't going to tip anyone off one way or the other and get you into a fist fight, it's not the easiest thing. And we're dealing with students who sometimes, college students, but sometimes it's their first time abroad. Sometimes they haven't traveled very much. Sometimes they're still, you know, we can have sophomores on this trip, age-wise, sophomores to seniors. And, you know, sometimes the foresight is not always there yet. And so I was nervous that someone was going to get hurt, someone was going to say something to the wrong person or ask the wrong question or tout their newfound knowledge without the right sensitivity. And so I was just petrified the whole time we were up there. Everything was fine. We had a wonderful time. We have amazing contacts, tour guides, etc. of the places we've been going. This program has been running for 20 plus years. It's a long-standing program at JMU. And so we have a lot of support and friendly faces there. And if any of you go to Ireland and would like my list of like my favorite places to go, things to do, let me know in the comments. I can share that link somewhere. I have a document that I keep that is all of my favorite things. But it was super, super, super nerve-wracking. Everything was fine. We had a fantastic time. We saw everything we wanted to see. The weather cooperated. I mean, you saw some of my foundation reviews while I was there. We had rain, but luckily any of the bad rainy weather happened when we didn't have any outside things to do. So it was great. We went to the Giant's Causeway. That was fantastic. We had all of our Northern Ireland sightseeing and Derry, and we got to take pictures in front of the mural, and you saw all of those little clips in some of my foundation reviews while I was there. I will be putting together a sort of a vlog video of all the videos I took while I was in Ireland to just kind of summarize everything, and you know, I haven't done that yet, but I will. So then we get back from Derry and we're still waiting for my co-director to make it out with his family. He finally did get there, but for me, the trouble of the whole thing was that by that point, 2 weeks into the program, we're home base. We're the only other traveling we do. We took a trip to the Cliffs of Moher before my co-director got there. So all of the travel where you're like counting heads and trying not to lose anybody and keeping track of, you know, herding cats, all of that I had to do alone. And it was really stressful. You know, we have 24/7 responsibility for 12 college students, and it's not the same as just teaching classes. And part of why this is something I point out is because, you know, when you teach a class, you see them for an hour 15, twice a week, and outside of class, what they do is what they do. If they go get in trouble with the law, if they go get hurt, if anything happens outside of class, I don't know about it. I'm their teacher. I'm only with them in class. But when you have them abroad, I'm responsible for them 24/7. And the thing with the way JMU does the study abroads is that directorship is voluntary and unpaid. We get paid to teach the class, but we get paid the same amount as we would get paid if we were teaching online from home or an on-campus class in Harrisonburg. So there's no pay for setting up all the logistics of the program. So I have to book all the reservations, make all the contacts with the vendors and the tour guides, set all that up, arrange all of the payments between international accounting and the vendors, make all the reservations, get all the logistics in place, get any paperwork required, because sometimes depending where we go, they might need lists of the students' names or copies of their IDs, things like that. I have to facilitate all of those connections. We have to make the budget. We have to do all the promotion of the program. We have to answer all the questions of the people that are signing up. Then we get the students. We have to orient them. We have to give them we made a whole booklet. Like, this is all on the director. And it's all unpaid. And the travel and the logistics and the supervising and the making sure everybody's safe and making sure everyone stays healthy and making sure nobody gets hurt and no one gets arrested. And like, that's all on the director, and it's all unpaid. Which, you know, they really work hard to make you feel like the privilege of being able to do the program is payment enough. And then they do pay our lodging while we're there, and we get a food stipend. It's only half of what the state allows for travel stipends, and that's an arbitrary decision on JMU's part. It does not cover the entire cost of food. So actually, directing the program not only costs me several hundred hours of free labor, but it also costs me money to pay for food, because the stipend we get is not enough to cover the entirety of what it costs to eat while we're there. So I'm at the point now where I'm not cool with that. It's borderline abusive when I look at just how much struggle is involved, especially when there's travel issues, which is almost always. My flight was canceled on the way home, so I had to go through all of it myself as well this trip. So there's my waterline pencil. I was looking for it. So that's just something I'm not willing to do anymore. I'm not willing to do all that work for free. I think directors should be paid a stipend of some kind. And we used to be able to. Before I was formally involved, I was just kind of like in training to become part of the Ireland program. The director did get a small stipend. They were able to budget it in, and so mid-2010s, 2015, 2016, it was a $500 stipend. And then that was refused in the 2017, 2018 year, and they quit allowing that. So I'm just not cool with that anymore. I'm not going to give my labor for free. I'm not going to stress myself out to the extent that, I mean, I didn't sleep for weeks. It was horrid. The back end of the program was horrible. Like, it was absolutely a nightmare, horrible experience. I don't think I've ever been as stressed out in my life. I have the health app data statistics to show with my heart rate, my resting heart rate, and my, what's that measurement that, like, the difference between the beats of your heart, like, I can show you data that says I was a freaking mess. I did not have a good time. Now, the front end of the program, the part that of interacting with the students and the actual classes and the events, the things that we attended, and the film festival and all of that stuff, that was all fantastic. If this is the last program I've ever directed, I really did go out on a high note as far as having a wonderful group of students with us. Everyone got along. They turned into this little happy family. They would go everywhere together. Like, it was heartwarming. They worked so hard on our projects. They knew I'm a work hard, play hard kind of person. I work exceptionally hard, but I play pretty hard too. And I think that's fine as long as there's balance. You can't be play hard, and no work. But if you work hard, go ahead and play hard. And they did. I think I try not to know too much about what they do after hours, as long as there's no bloodshed or police involved. If the Garda doesn't have to come, we're okay. But I think they found that balance. I know they worked hard because we had a fantastic project to show for it. If you want to see the project that the students did, it's a website. Go to 2023.jmuireland.com. So 2023.jmuireland.com. And they did a project on Haunted Galway. And it turned out really good. They worked really hard. We had a great time. And that side of the program was fantastic. And that's the part of the program that it makes my heart hurt, because I just wish everything was better on the administrative side of things, because it's a wonderful experience. It really is to watch students absorb the Irish culture and understand it, and then settle into life as a local there, because we're there for a month to 6 weeks, depending on which year it is. We were there for 4 weeks this year, well, like 31 days. And it's fantastic to watch them acclimate to the culture and become part of it, and it's my favorite place on earth. So it's like personally rewarding to me as well. But like I said, there are just some issues. There's no dedicated support person. The emergency contact for when we're traveling. I'm looking for my mascara. I still have not cleaned off my vanity. When I told you I unpacked from Ireland, I just emptied everything onto my vanity, and it's all still here. This is the new Color Street mascara. I'm in love with it. It's fantastic. So, what the heck was I just going to say? I'm probably not going to remember what I was just going to say. Yeah, totally. Whatever that thought was, it went right out of my mind. And it's too bad that I can't just play back a video. Because I can't play it back when I'm recording it, right? No. So anyway, it's just, I'm not going to direct Ireland next year. I'm probably not going to do it again. Ever. That's what I was saying. So the emergency contact is actually someone who has very high-level responsibilities at JMU, and at least the times I was interacting with the emergency contact. And so they're in meetings, they're in other responsibilities where they actually can't respond right away. Well, that's not an emergency contact. That is someone who will get back to you in a couple of hours while you are sitting there going, does anybody hear me? Can anybody reply to me? Somebody help, please. The phrase that I said that I think made this person the most angry and resulted in her cutting me off from communication was, I said, I am so sick of begging for help. emailing and calling so many different people to get anybody to respond as to what the heck we're supposed to do when we can't get a hold of the travel agent and and our flights are canceled. This is not a new problem. It has now happened to me 3 times. Me personally twice, last summer and this summer, and my co-director once, in which I was attempting to advocate on his behalf because he was new to all this. So my complaints are that A, there is no emergency contact, and B, there's nobody proactively monitoring the flight statuses of the directors. So when there is a problem, there's nobody to even respond or to know there's a problem. And the thing with these flights, they're usually overnight flights to Ireland, so it's after hours. So it's even harder to get a hold of somebody. And so in my mind, until there is a dedicated emergency contact that is available after hours to respond and proactively monitor flight situations, and since we're required to use a travel agent, that the travel agent is also available after hours to help with flight problems, I'm just not going to do it. And directors need to be paid. They need to be paid something for the 11 months of labor. So this program ended the 3rd week of July, and the new proposal for the following year is due August 1st. You are literally working 11 months of the year on all of the logistics, the budgeting, the reservations, securing things, marketing the program, reviewing applications, interviewing students. The whole process is a year's worth of labor that we don't get paid for. Hundreds of hours of labor. So until directors are paid and until the emergency contact is a dedicated person who is proactively monitoring flight situations and whatnot, I'm just not going to do it anymore. Jones Road, I've been loving the brow gel. As long as you don't use too much of it. If you use too much, you're going to have flaking, kind of like the way a mascara would flake. But if you make sure you don't use too much, it's got fantastic hold. I don't have to use another product for hold purposes. And it's just lovely. Just don't use too much. But like what I just did just now, not too much. It's lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So, yeah. If any of my former Ireland students are seeing this, I love y'all. We had some great, great times. Not just this summer. All the students we've had have been fantastic. Caffeine. All right, all I got left is a lip, and I think I'm just gonna be lazy and do the lip gloss. Oh, did I take that lip gloss and put it in my purse? I've been wearing the Forget the Filler from Lawless. I think I did. I think I moved it. Oh, no, here it is. This is the Rosy Outlook one, the one that is mostly, it's a tinge of pink to it. It's mostly clear. I would call it clear. It doesn't really add color. It's just pretty much clear. So, Ireland alumni, I love yous. We've had some times. I did get my tattoo while I was out there. AWOL Tattoos, go see Tig. He is a genius. I forgot to put mascara on my lower lashes. Let's do that because I looked in the mirror and I'm like, wow, you look weird. Okay, just a smidge. Just a little bit. I just feel like if I can't see my lower lashes, it looks weird. And they're practically invisible if I don't put a little something on there. So, yeah. And then, so that I don't have too much, I'm going to take a Q-tip and take some of it off. I got too much on the outside corners. There we go. That's better. I just want enough that I can see my lashes. Oh, and then I stab myself in the under eye. Well, that's terrible. Good job, Shelly. Good job. So, that was the drama with why Ireland was such a hot mess on the back end. On the front end, everything was fantastic. Really, I mean, if I had to have a last one to go out on, it was a great one to go out on. We had some great students this time, and it just went really well. So that is your Ireland story time. This is the finished look. What do you think? I really think, I'm looking in my mirror, I think I like this side of the palette. Look at these. I thought this was going to be more warm toned, but it is pretty nicely neutral to cool. All right. Alter Ego, thank you. They send me this in PR. This is not sponsored. They just make my favorite dupe palettes of life. And, oh, I love this lip gloss. It feels so pillowy. So there's your story time. The story I owed you. I need to get all my videos together. I will make a vlog of just Ireland videos for those that love to just watch the scenery and the landscapes and everything. I actually like to go back and watch them myself. So I have a few Ireland vlogs from previous trips that I've been on there. So I will try to remember to link them down below. As always, thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to geek out over makeup with me. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys all have an awesome day or night wherever you are in the world. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.